there everybody, this is Krista and welcome back to Adventures in Metaphysics, and I am here with another weekly deck experiences and selections. That's what I call it. I think we should just get right into it. So, we were away this weekend, so I didn't get a chance to put up a poll for you all to select one of my decks for me. So all of these will be a surprise for what I'm choosing to use next week. But before we get into that, let's talk about what I chose last week. So we had the Sacrobito Tarot, the Fantastic Menagerie Tarot, which I got this cute Peggy bag for. Look at the unicorns! Isn't that so perfect? I'm so excited about that one. I love Peggy bags. I love making my own bags, but I also just love hers. I love getting hers too. Anyway, my oracles were the Seed and Sickle and Pear Tree Court Oracle. So, I actually did a good job this week using all of these decks. I strayed a little bit for sure, and we can talk about that, but probably the deck I ended up using the most was the Sacrobito Tarot, which is good because this is one that I kind of wanted to make sure I was giving its fair shot sort of thing, and I'm definitely glad I did. Look at that King of Cups. Ugh. I really love this deck, and pulling it out again just made me remember why I got it in the first place. It's very different from the other decks I have and use. Yeah, it worked really well for me this week. I really enjoyed using it. So, from that, this or that I did, maybe 2 weeks ago now, with the Second Chance decks. This is one that is definitely staying. I didn't really think it was going to go. I knew I was attached to it for some reason, and it just turned out I really just needed to pull it out and put it into the rotation. So this one I'm sure will be back again soon. This one definitely came out to play the most this week. So very pleased about that one. This is the Tiny Traveler edition. I think if I end up using this one a bunch, I do really like this version, but as I mentioned, I don't really tend to use mini tarot decks outside of bringing them for travel. I don't really know why, I just don't seem to choose them. I think I like the feeling of those like full-size cards when I'm doing my morning pulls, so I might consider getting the full size of this eventually, but for now, I do really love this deck, and the cardstock this Tiny Traveler's on is amazing. So, let's just go in order. So we'll do the other tarot, which is the Fantastic Menagerie. This one I ended up only using once or twice. Ooh, bit odd lighting. It's got that cold foil stamping, so I'm trying to point it down so it doesn't catch the light weird, but this is a new one for me. Yeah, I only ended up using it once or twice. I was just trying to follow my mood when it came to decks I was selecting, and if I wanted to stray, I definitely strayed, but the times I did use this, I really enjoyed how it read for me. I was a bit nervous it was going to be too similar to my Northern Animal Tarot, but I think I have such a special bond with the Northern Animal Tarot that nothing is really going to compare to it, and I mean that in a good way, where I don't know that I could ever see myself comparing it to another deck, because in my brain it's unmatched. So I mean that in a good way, or it bodes well for this in terms of they're not competing in my head. Nothing really is going to compete with that deck. I really, really enjoyed this deck. The cards made me laugh. I just love the images. It felt like what I needed this week, so I know this one's gonna come out again soon. I wouldn't even be surprised if I was going to stray this week, it might be to this deck. I just really loved it. I'm interested to see, not that I necessarily put Baba Studios decks just in the same category automatically, but you know, sometimes I feel like when I've got multiple decks by the same creator, they instantly get compared in my head. So I'm curious to see if this one comes out more than the Victorian Romantic, which I love that deck, and they're very different. So not to say that they are competing in any sense, but this one just feels so me. I just really enjoyed this one. And pairing it with the Pear Tree Court Oracle was amazing. These decks went so well together. I know this Oracle is going to come out again soon. I really enjoy this one, and I feel like sometimes I just don't take it out enough. But the keywords on these cards just really connect for me, and they just really work well for my main reading purpose and main reading mode, I guess you could say, of using it for morning polls. I just really enjoy this deck, and it just paired so well with the Fantastic Menagerie deck. Not, you know, in reading itself, but also aesthetically. They just kind of looked really nice together, so I was excited about that. I love this deck, I really do. Okay. Last but not least, in the planned decks, we had the Seed and Sickle Oracle. Now this was another one in my this or that kind of second chance decks video, and this one did not get used at all this week. And I realized, it almost did. It almost came out a few times, but I realized the reason it was because I felt like I needed to. Like, I brought it in to give it a chance, like I really should give it a chance, but I didn't want to. And I feel like that should speak louder than anything else of, like, I have this deck and I put it into rotation and I don't want to use it. I will pull out anything else right now other than this one. And it surprises me a little bit because I really enjoyed this deck when I first got it and was so excited about it, but I don't think it works for my reading style, which is okay. It's a beautiful deck. I don't know if it's worth it to me. Ugh, I love this card. Look at that one, Strawberry. I think the no keywords ended up bothering me more than I thought it would. I don't know. I don't think this one is for me, if I'm being honest. I don't think this kind of plant energy is something I'm really ever going to connect with, at least not for right now. I think it's a bit more of a fantasy self thing. And when I was thinking about it, I was like, well, I've got my combined herbiary and bestiary, and that gives me plant energy, and so does Woodland Wardens. So do I really need this one? No, I don't, especially if I'm feeling so hesitant to use it. Hesitant's not even the right word, like I didn't want to. Yeah, I really wish this one ended up working for me because I love seeing it when other people do, but I don't think it's one for me, and that's okay. And you know what? That was the whole point of that video and the whole point of me adding these back into my rotation. So even though I didn't end up pulling from this deck, I was thinking about it and thinking about it all week and realized the feelings I had around it. So that is okay. All right. So that being said, that is going to go into my little timeout bin where it's going to hang out for a while. Because I don't want to rush anything, you know. I could see myself maybe wanting to try it again. I don't know. I'm not going to force it. But, you know, I don't want to rush and get rid of anything. Alright, so let's talk about the decks I used when I strayed from my selections. So for starters, as I mentioned, we were traveling a little bit this weekend. We just went to go visit my parents on Long Island. So when I do travel, like I said, that's when I like to bring out my mini decks, and the one I always bring with me is my teeny tiny tarot, as well as the mini divvy that kind of came in the kind of Kickstarter bundle from Holly Oddly. And this is one of my favorites. First of all, this Chariot card. How good is that? When I did my 22 faves, the favorite majors, I had so many cards come from this deck, and it's funny because this one doesn't really come out for my morning readings when I'm home. This is the one if I'm going somewhere, even if it's just for the day and I feel like I want to bring a deck with me, this is going to come in my bag. If I'm traveling, this is the one that's going to come with me. My favorite tower card. Oh, so good. I love the colors. I love the simplicity. It's just a straightforward, nice deck to bring. I don't know, I love Holly Audley's color palette that she picks with these peaches and blues and greens. I just especially love this kind of peachy color she goes with a lot. Yeah, I have no complaints. I was excited to bring this out. I am not one who loves traveling or leaving home. I like my experiences when I get there, but I get a lot of travel anxiety, and I just really like being in my own space. I just have a thing about that, so being able to put some thought into what decks I'm bringing, knowing that this one's gonna come out and it gets me excited, it helps a little bit with traveling, I will say. So if you don't have this one, I totally recommend, especially if you're someone who likes mini decks or is looking for something good to kind of just bring with you when you're traveling. That one is fantastic. Oh, I didn't show the mini divvy. Let's show that. I love this deck. I'm really excited for the whole set to be coming out soon. Holly had it up on Kickstarter maybe a month or so ago now. Maybe more? I don't remember. Recently. So those should be coming soon, which I'm very excited about. You can combine all of the mini divvies into one super deck, or you know, you get to kind of mix and match how you'd like, which I love that idea. I do really specifically love this ghost one. I just think it's so funny, and I like that the messages are right on the card. So again, it's awesome for traveling because if you know the Smith-Waite system, this deck is straightforward. You know, you don't really need a guidebook. And then for the Oracle, it's right on the card. So you don't need to be breaking out any sort of booklet or papers to interpret when you're on the go, which is really awesome. So I was excited to bring those with me. The other deck I brought with me is one that was sent to me by my friend Andy to try out just because she thought I would get along with it. And that has been my favorite thing as of late, when my friends have just been like, you need to try this. Like, either I'm rehoming it, so you should take it and try it out, or, you know, I'm just gonna send it to try kind of thing. Because I have been using so many decks I never would have bought for myself, never would have thought I would like even a little bit, and they're becoming some of my favorites. That happened with the Crimson Hysteria, as you know, that was recommended by Allie from Totero, and that's been a fast favorite. I never would have tried that. Anyway, the deck that Andy sent along was the Super Lunaris Tarot. Ooh, what's happening here? Oh, I got these upside down. So I brought this one with me as well. Ugh. Can't hold that with my left hand. Okay. And again, this is not one I never would have even considered this, because it's so not my usual style. But since I got this in the mail last week, I have not put this down. She sent it in this really pretty bag that they must have sold it with the Empress card on it. I swear I've been carrying this around everywhere with me, so it just kind of ended up in my bag to go, and I'm so glad it did, because I used this while I was gone too, and just, I don't know, I just really, really like the art style. I like how it reads. It's one of those ones, it's exactly, Andy said, it was just, it's one you need to kind of have in your hands and you need to try to make any sort of judgment on it. I don't know why, but I feel like there are some decks that are just like that, where it's like you need to have it in your hands before you can decide. And she was so right, because again, I would never have gotten this one for myself, and I just can't stop using it. So this one came out last week. Don't be surprised if you catch me straying. It's probably gonna be this deck, because I've really been enjoying it. It's so pretty. Honestly, why don't I should just even add it into the rotation, because I know I'm gonna want to use it. Oh, it's so good. It takes these like photographs and collages them, makes them look like paintings. It's really, really neat. So that is the Super Lunaris Tarot. Now we can get into my decks for next week. If I can get this in the bag. Okay. So my 4 decks that I have selected for next week are, let's start here. My first tarot deck is the Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot, which I haven't brought out yet all summer, and I just felt like I really needed to, because it's such a summer deck for me. And I don't know why I haven't pulled it out yet. I really like this one, and I haven't used it in so long, probably since last summer. And it's the perfect like hot weather deck, because I feel like looking at these cards, you just feel like it's at least 80 degrees. I love the bright colors of this deck though. I specifically love the card backs. I'm not usually one, I mean, you know, I enjoy when there's a nice card back. It's not make it or break it for me by any means. But this is one that I just find myself wanting to stare at these backs. They're just so pretty in this like deep blue that is just, it's so nice. So I'm really excited to have this one out. I feel like my challenge too, as we in the next few months get into the darker half of the year, I feel like my challenge is to bring this out during that time too. Because I don't know, I love this deck, this High Priestess card specifically. How pretty is that? I just really love this deck. Anyway, oh, and the moon. So good. Anyway, so that's the Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot. I love the bag I made for this too. This is yarn that my older sister dyed. It's these like bright neon colors. Look how nice that is. All those colors mixed together. I forget what she called it. Blue Hawaiian or something. She should have her shop, her yarn shop on Etsy reopened probably this coming week at some point. She is Color Wheel Yarns on Etsy. And I definitely recommend, if you are into knitting, crocheting, she makes some really different and cool colors. Okay, next tarot we are using is my modified Antique Anatomy Tarot, which is all stuck together, isn't it? Yes, it is. Ah! So to finish this off, I used matte Mod Podge. The only problem is that we're supposed to be getting air conditioning put in, but all of the orders are back ordered. It was supposed to be put in like 2 or 3 months ago at this point. Yeah. So we have some window units. They don't work super great. So it gets a little bit humid in the house. Not humid, but it's warm. So I have a feeling if we had a working air conditioner, like especially like central where everywhere is getting cooled properly, I think this deck is gonna be completely fine. It sticks together if I leave it sitting for a while right now, but you know, we were away and so none of the air conditioners were on, so it probably got pretty hot in the house. Ramblings aside, I'm trying to just separate a few so you can see. I'm gonna do a flip through of this, I believe. If that's something that you all are interested in seeing, let me know. So the modification I did, I followed Boho Tarot's mod where I added some book pages, but then I also had these fun stickers that I added on to add my own symbols to the Antique Anatomy cards, and it was just really fun. And this deck became so instantly special to me because of the work I put into modifying it. So I'm really excited to be bringing this one out. Yeah, I just love this one. I had Antique Anatomy years ago, and when I was first starting to learn tarot, and it was the same thing with the Wildwood, where it was too soon. I wasn't ready to be using a deck like this. And then when I saw Boho Tarot's mod video last week, it's not new, I don't know how I missed it, but she showed her deck in her top 10 curiosity video. And so I watched the mod, and I immediately went out the next morning, got a new copy of this deck. I'd already been thinking about getting a copy anyway, because I kind of was like, well, you know, I like the deck, and Wildwood, trying it a second time around, has been so wonderful, and I love that deck so much. So I kind of was wanting to give it another try, but that gave me the final push I needed, I feel like, because I was like, well, I want to do that mod, and if I go out and get a new copy, I am not going to be attached to it, so it's now or never. It's not actually, I'm being dramatic, but anyway, look at the chipmunk I put. I just love what I did. I don't know. Look at that Queen of Cups. I love that one. So I'm excited to use this one. I used it a little bit last week, but knew I was gonna take it out this week now that it was finished, so yeah, actually, kind of thinking of a last minute switch as well, because I had out my Memento Mori to use as one of my oracles, and I do think I still want to try it. I'm interested to see how Memento Mori pairs with Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot. But actually, I'm interested to see, because I kind of feel like the colors of the backgrounds are similar, and that might throw me off of like what deck is what. What do we think? I don't think I'm gonna actually like how these pair together. Sorry, you are catching my thoughts live, because I'm just having them. I don't think I'm gonna enjoy that. I think it's like they're gonna match so well, there's not gonna be any sort of like distinction between what's oracle, what's tarot. Okay, we're adding in one. I think I still want to keep this out because I think it's gonna be really cool with Dame Darcy's Mermaid Tarot. But do I want to add? We're adding one in. We're adding one in. Because I used this last week with my finished Antique Anatomy, and it is the Hollow Valley deck of symbols, which is super cool and paired super well with the Antique Anatomy. It's almost like Lenormand-like, but it's just these symbols with these really cool meanings to them, and I love the art style. Yeah, I really like this one. I'm gonna bring this one into the rotation too. It's so interesting because I'm not a black and white deck person, but I think because it's an oracle and I can kind of add whatever deck I want around it because it's black and white, it's really working for me. So we're gonna add this one in as well. It's such a cool one. Okay. Thanks for talking that through with me. Fireworks. Eek. Alright, last deck. We're bringing back out the Coastal Curiosities. I hesitated to bring in the other one because this I think is going to be really cool with Antique Anatomy. Especially after I've kind of added my own collaging of sorts, and this is a collage deck. Hold on, let's get to like one of the... Let's go to this card. I just want to hold them up together and see. I think these are gonna look super cool. Oh yeah, this is gonna be cool. I'm excited about this. Yes! Oh, that's gonna be so good. Oh, I'm excited. All right. So, you know, Coastal Curiosities. We're just gonna flip through fast. I've talked about this so much. The second edition is on Kickstarter though, if you haven't seen it. I'm excited to see, so there's added cards. Some of the cards are a bit changed, but there's also going to be an option if you have the first edition and you don't want to get the second. Lennox Reese, who is the creator, is adding an option to just get an expansion pack to the first edition to bring in the new cards. The only thing is that since I think she's using a different printer, the cardstock might not be exactly the same, or the coloring or something. So if that's something that might bother you, you know, just keep that in mind. I have backed for the second edition just because I love this deck so much. I am excited to see the second edition, and I just wanted to support Lennox and her art, and that's all I have to say about that. I'm really excited to see the second edition and see, like, kind of see the differences. I really like doing that for decks that I really love. I don't do it in a, like, gotta catch 'em all kind of way, but when they're decks that are so meaningful to me and there's a new edition, I just want to see how it compares and also just support the artist in that way. Of course, I could just back, you know, monetarily without without an object, buying the object, I suppose, whatever you want to say, but there's the curiosity aspect. I did that with Northern Animal, which it was really cool because there was such a stark difference between the first and second editions. Anyway, I am babbling. So, that is my lineup for next week. I'm going to sit here now and work on separating these cards because they got really stuck together in this heat. Other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week.